You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
Welcome back to the show. Here's a look at some of the political headlines from the past week. We talked here in the news about the vacancy on the ballot for the County Court at Law number 3. Well, the Republican Party has appointed Anne Marie Carruth to run. Now they've got some more decisions to make as her position as Justice of the Peace for Precinct 4 is up for grabs. So if you're interested in running for that, you'll need to submit your letter of intent to the Republican chairman by 5 o'clock on August 13th. The candidate will be chosen on August 21st. If you'd like to run, we've got all the information you need to know on our website, everythinglubbock.com. Well, a deleted tweet by Governor Abbott causing some controversy. It was a graphic reading, "Churchill on the left wing. The fascists of the future will call themselves anti-fascist." As it turns out, though, Winston Churchill never said that quote, and the tweet was then deleted from the governor's timeline. At a news conference on Tuesday, Abbott responded saying, in part, "What I tweeted was a sentiment that I have, and that is Antifa is dangerous to society, and Antifa is the antithesis of safety and security," adding, "It was irrelevant to me who may or may not have said that in the past, but I didn't want to be accused of plagiarism for saying it." But the governor this week also calling for changes to our state's bail system after a state trooper was killed in the line of duty last year. The man who Trooper Damon Allen pulled over last Thanksgiving had a criminal history of violence towards law enforcement that the judge setting his previous bond didn't know about. Abbott says that man should not have been out on bond and says he wants lawmakers to pass a bill that would increase communication in the court system, making sure judges and magistrates consider the potential threat to law enforcement and fully know a person's criminal history before setting bail.
What we're talking about here is reforming the bail system in a way that does not release back out on the streets someone who is a repeat offender, a demonstrated danger to a community, to make sure that if they do get bail, there's going to be a high bail to make sure that hopefully we can keep behind bars people like the killer of Damon Allen.
Abbott credits Trooper Allen's wife, Casey, for spearheading these bail reform efforts. Well, in more state politics, conservatives from around the country filled the state's capital city last weekend, aiming to advance conservative ideologies at an event called the Resurgent Gathering. Governor Greg Abbott talking to the crowd about the Texas economy and the record low unemployment. The Energy Secretary and former Texas Governor Rick Perry talking about his department's role within the Trump administration and promoting some different forms of energy and power. KMAC's Wes Rappaport had a chance to sit down with Secretary Perry and ask about how to protect our country's energy grid. He rejoins us now. Take a listen.
How crucial are those conversations about cybersecurity to the big picture of what we're doing?
Well, the simplicity of it is this. If we lose our power and the lights go out, the power goes out, the financial centers go dark, the transportation safety, all of those things are inextricably tied back to our ability to deliver power. We've never had this challenge before. Number one, we've got a great demand on our grid, and you've got this element of nefarious actors, whether it's state governments, terrorist groups, with the potential to shut down our electric grid. We take it very seriously, and the challenges are real. Control panels and power stations get pinged literally millions of times a day by folks trying to get in. So the defensive side of that, building the resiliency in our grid, and making sure we have an all of the above fuel source: coal, nuclear, wind, solar, natural gas, hydro. We need to have all of those being healthy out there for the national security of this country.
Several primaries and special elections going on this past week across several states. So here to break all of that down for us is ABC News political director Rick Klein. It's good to see you again. This gives us a lot to look forward to ahead of those midterm elections. I think one of the most hotly contested and talked about, that race in Ohio, so close for that 12th congressional district, a seat long held by Republicans. What do you think that race says about the party?
This seat has only had a Democrat represented 2 years out of the last 80. That's how red it is. President Trump carried it by 11 points. It looks like the Republican is prevailing there by less than a percentage point. So you're seeing the president's popularity not helping candidates as much as he might hope. And maybe this carried him over the line. Maybe this will save this seat for Republicans. But there are 60 or 70 seats around the country that are more inclined to vote Democratic than this one. And Democrats just really like their chances going into November because of nights like last night.
You know, as we're looking ahead to these midterm elections as well, something we've been keeping an eye on, more women candidates than ever contesting those governorships and those House seats. What do you think that shift means? What do you make of that?
Yeah, they're setting new records now. We're guaranteed to have a record number of female candidates running for governor as well as for Congress. And look, I've talked to a lot of these women. We've interviewed a bunch of them. They come from much different backgrounds, but they tell similar stories about how they've been inspired to enter politics because of what they've seen over the last couple of years in the Trump administration and more broadly in the Me Too era in society. And it's a powerful way to put a face to the opposition. And if nothing else, they really want to ensure that that Congress doesn't look anything like it has before.
Anything else that you think should be on voters' radars ahead of these midterm elections, especially coming out of some of these races?
Yeah, one thing I'm struck by in these primaries is that the Trump effect is real and it actually exists in both parties. You're seeing it drive Republicans to embrace President Trump as much as possible, including Senator Ted Cruz, who now wants the president to campaign in Texas for him. And then on the flip side, you're seeing Democrats go a little bit further to the left as they try to oppose President Trump. So I feel like it is hitting in both directions. President Trump is the big force no matter what.
Lots to think about and lots to look out for. One last question for you. What do you think we can watch for from Congress as they return from their break?
Well, the big question is going to be whether there's a government shutdown or not. The president has said that maybe he wants to have a shutdown. He thinks it's good politically to have a shutdown over border wall funding. They're going to be forced to confront that issue in a very real way once they get back at the end of September. So there's not a lot of appetite for that, but the president seems like he really wants to have that showdown.
ABC News Political Director Rick Klein, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Still ahead here on Talking Points, government attorneys and immigration advocates butting heads over how to reunite separated families at the border. We're going to have the latest as the controversy escalates.